Hey everybody, what's going on? RedX is back with the continuation of the new Voyager class figures from the 30th anniversary line of Transformers Generations, pretty much based on the IDW comic counterparts. Today we're looking at Blitzwing, which is, like I just said, the second Voyager figure of the new wave. And, you know, the box is no different from Springer's, except it's Blitzwing's. So here's his bio, here's his tech specs. Here's who's available, which we reviewed already, so let's get this out of here. And let's go ahead and take a look at Blitzwing. And I gotta tell you, I gotta take back what I said yesterday when I reviewed Springer. How I said that the Voyager figures are pretty good, and Hasbro can't go wrong. They can't screw up this line. Beyond what they've done with Transformers Prime and all that, they cannot go back and screw up these figures. Well, I jumped the gun a little too early. Before I even had a chance to review this figure, I pretty much said that this figure is great. It's not great. It's not good. It's okay. I'll give it that. There are some things about it that I like, but there is a majority factor. Like I did warn in the Springer review, a majority of reviewers out there really despise this figure almost as much as Arachnid for one fatal flaw, which I've already taken the liberty of fixing myself. I don't remember who or what actually started this on YouTube, but somebody put a video showing how to fix this problem, and I'll go more into discussion about it when we get to his robot mode. But for now, let's just go ahead and take a look at what we've got here. And as you can see, Blitzwing is totally flawed in jet mode. It is a nice jet mode. Do not get me wrong. This jet mode is good. So this works. Unlike Springer with the wings in his helicopter mode being all packed up in the armor, which you're supposed to, you're supposed to see that illusion. I see this more. This works. Because, I mean, there's just more of a span. Unlike, Springer. Anyway, I mean, it's a jet. That's what it's supposed to be. So, yeah, overall, I do like this jet mode. But I'm just going to go ahead and get to the cons, because I don't want to make this a long review as I did with Springer, because I know it's boring when you have to listen to me to about 18 to 20 minutes. So I'm going to try to get this as short as possible. So I will be skipping the transformations again. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and talk about the problems. Alright, well obviously you can tell by now, this is a big problem here. The back pieces to his jet mode, the fins, I guess. The fins. Yeah, I don't know jets, okay? So, yeah, fins. They do not peg in anywhere. They're just on the ball joint because obviously these are the feet for robot mode. They do not peg into anything. These are on ball joints and they just move around with a little bit of a hit. That's it. I mean, it just really bugs the hell out of me when I have to go back and just reposition everything just to put him back on the shelf, only to find out that I hit him again by mistake. One little bump and these are out of place. I don't like that. And this is probably just my figure, but these top fins here, they're very loose. And these bits right here, they're supposed to cover up his arms. They just move around too much. And I know it sounds like I'm nitpicking, but I'm not. If you want me to nitpick, here's something I can nitpick about. Look at all this area right here. Look at this. Look at this open gap. Now, granted that in the instructions of Blitzwing, they say you should take his sword and peg it in at the top like so, and that will cover up that bit. So, okay, no harm, no foul there. But this is the real killer right here for jet mode. What is this? Hasbro, what the is this? I mean, yeah, sure, it's not that bad, but I mean, a rubber cone, a rubber nose cone. You've got a rubber cone that is bound to stress eventually. Stress marks are going to pop up sooner or later on this figure, just like he's starting to chip away at the head. And as you can see, his head just came out very easily. It's supposed to stay pegged in, but I think mine is broken. And it really just keeps bumping the nose cone because it's just made out of this very soft rubber that just cannot support this peg piece right here, and it just keeps popping with the force of this head right here. as powerful as this spring is to keep it popping out rather than staying in, it keeps knocking the nose cone out of place. And this is about as far as I can actually get the nose cone in. As you can see, there's a gap right there. And on this side, it's even worse. This should have been plastic. This should not have been rubber. But other than that, I mean, there really is no other problems unless you want to consider the fact he has no wheels. It looks like he's got wheels. Don't get me wrong, he does have wheels. But unlike Springer, they're just molded on. They do nothing. Nothing. They don't roll. You're not going to get anything out of this. All you're going to get is some paint wearing out here and here in this area. Okay, wheels are supposed to roll. They're supposed to roll. It's what makes a vehicle go. When it's supposed to move, it should be wheels that actually have movement. They should not be just one molded piece of plastic. I don't care if it's an easy way to cheap out on these figures when creating them. They got to have wheels. If they have a desire for wheels, they gotta have it. If there's a reason for wheels, they gotta have it. I cannot express my feeling about that anymore. So I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna end this part of the review right here, and I'm gonna get him into his next mode, and we'll go from there. So, whoop. This tank mode does not look bad. I've seen worse. I mean, we've gone through Armada Megatron, for crying out loud. An animated Blitzwing, well, his wasn't that much of a charm, but I guess the really good part about him was it was an animated style. It didn't have to make sense. This one, on the other hand, I don't know. I kind of like it. It's not that bad of a tank mode, like I just said, but when you really look at this thing, I mean, what the is this? Look at this. There's nothing but gaps. Gaps here, gaps there, gaps here. The only thing that they really attempted to try and fill was the front of it. These bits right here, were supposed to be folded down for robot mode and jet mode. You have to flip these out and you have to split out his legs. And that's what really kills this figure right here, because these bits right here, the treads, do not want to peg in. They do not. I am very surprised that they want to stay in place at least. They're staying in place, so I'm not really complaining about that. But then again, here we go again with the feet. You have nothing for them. There's nothing you can do with them. They're just hanging in the back. I did my best to try and cover up this tank mode as best as I could, but unfortunately even the instructions don't help at this point. I guess the only really good thing about this tank, what I have to say, is the turret actually does rotate. But here we go again. Here's another problem. I'm sorry that I'm making it sound like that this is a big blow, but it really is. Look at this. You know how a turret on a tank is supposed to, the cannon itself is supposed to rotate? Well, it does, but do you actually see a cannon on a tank actually go out like this? I mean, isn't it usually directly in the center right here, wherever it rotates? Look at the way that they engineered this. This does not work. It just doesn't. This is horrible looking. I guess the only good points that I can give about this tank mode is the fact that its missile does actually fire. I guess another good point to the tank would have to be the fact that there are actually real rotating wheels on the bottom of the treads. So, yeah, there's some good points, but unfortunately, the nose cone, or should I say the actual windscreen of the jet mode, is very, very close to hitting the ground. So, obviously, if you're not careful, if you don't have this pegged in all the way, which it doesn't, oh, look at that, that just came out, that's great. If you don't have this peg in all the way, it's going to ram up against the ground, it's going to create a lot of friction, and you're really going to chip the windows. As you can see, I've already done so. Yeah, he's got weapon storage, so yeah, just throwing that out there. Anyway, that's about enough of that. Let's get to the robot mode. No complaints about the proportions whatsoever for his robot mode. This looks really good. Really, really good. The arms are very level to where they're supposed to be. The legs are not too tall. But I will be honest about one thing though. I think that the kneecaps are just a little too high. You know, he's got like the RID Ultra Magnus thing going on here. But, I mean, this is where the real situation comes up with this figure a lot. And I hope to God that Hasbro will one day go back and fix this problem. If you have not gone through the steps that this guy, I don't know his name, but I know this guy who knows this guy, who knows this guy, who knows this guy, and so on. Anyway, there's this guy on YouTube that's already corrected this situation with Blitzwing, which I've already gone through the steps myself. You have to unscrew this right here, this here, and this here, and you have to shave a lot of plastic here and here. And you know what? Don't listen to me, because if you do, you're obviously going to mess up, because I'm not showing you a video or a how-to tutorial, so just go look up the video, okay? It can't be that hard to find. Just look up how to fix your Voyager class Blitzwing or something, but, you know, good luck to you. Anyway, if you do not execute this little mod, or should I say a very big mod that this guy's done, these arms will not stay in position whatsoever. They are supposed to peg in, but due to the fact that there's just too much plastic when you originally get this figure, too much that's built onto this figure, which some guy must have been so lazy at Hasbro to look at it, or to even test this figure before actually putting it in his package and selling it. I mean, look at it. Look how this mod works. His arms are not going anywhere. Now, if it was not modified, this is what your figure would be doing all the time. Dislocating his shoulders. So, take my advice. Do as I say. Make sure you do this step. Because if you don't, this figure is not worth picking up, because it will give you a heartache. And no, I didn't say headache. I said heartache. That badly. But other than that, this figure is actually pretty good in robot mode. It is the best mode out of all three modes. Jet mode is troublesome. Tank mode, I don't know how to describe it. I want to say it's good, but really it's bad. But robot mode just seems to get it. I mean, this is Blitzwing. I see a lot of inspiration of Generation 1 Blitzwing on this figure, except for one thing. They just had to throw a homage to animated in there, because let's face it, animated was the shits. It really was. So we've got the very powerful face. As it shows on the package, he's a triple changing head facer, whatever you want to call it. He's like Manny Faces from Masters in the Universe. We've also got the animated style brains of the whole operation head with the very nice looking monocle. And then last but not least, we've got the crazy one himself. You know, he's insane, he's a psychopath, what can you say? But of course I like to leave it as his Generation 1 counterpart, because this is how I remember Blitzwing from back then. So yeah, he didn't have any triple changing heads. This was the only head he actually had in Generation 1 as far as I can remember. But I mean, beyond this, there's not that much to talk about. And I really don't want to talk about his weapons. Don't get me wrong, they look very nice. They are very nicely sculpted, but the charm just runs out in robot mode. It really does. It just fades away. Are you guys noticing the issue here? His weapons are too small. They're too small for this figure. These weapons do not look like they go in scale with this figure here. They belong with a deluxe class figure. And I was actually going to do size comparisons in vehicle mode or his tank mode with, you know, lockdown right here. But I totally forgot about that. And then I came to the point where it's just, you know, it's not worth it. It just isn't worth it. But I will go through the articulation. I will, because I have to. It's what I do with every review. So our articulation is simple enough. Swivel head. That's it. Swivel head. It's not a ball joint. But it does go up and down. Yeah. Ah, screw you. That's funny. Swivel shoulders, as you can see, they do actually go in and out as well, because there's another joint. Bicep swivel. 90-degree bend at the elbow. Wrist does rotate, though it can be hindered at times. As you can see, it likes to stop right here. No waist articulation due to transformation, which is easy to know. Legs go up, back, in and out, and that's pretty much it there. Thigh swivel, knee bends 90 degrees, though it's not really his knee area, which should be right here. And last but not least, ball jointed feet. they go up, they go down, they do actually go side to side. So yeah, I guess Vangelis would actually approve of this figure rather than Springer. And if you want to consider it, yes, his feet do actually pivot as well, just due to transformation, but I digress. So overall, what do I think about this figure? Well, before I actually give you my honest thoughts about him, let's bring in Springer one more time. And let's see the Pro figure compared to the Con figure. And as you can see, even though he's, split aside, he's actually a pretty good scale compared to Springer, because if you saw the review of Springer, you would know for a fact that Springer is a tad smaller than Blitzwing. Overall, I am not impressed with Blitzwing. From what we got with animated, I mean, that was pure gold. This right here is pure shit. I hate to say it, it's pure shit. The only saving grace about this figure is the fact that he's got a lot of articulation, and his robot mode is pretty damn good. But other than that, there's really nothing else that I can say about this figure. He's not worth it. Not unless you really need him that badly. And I'm sorry to disappoint you guys about this one. I mean, I knew you were expecting a lot of promises to come out of the last review, but this one just, what can I say, it bit the dust. So, yeah, it's bound to happen. So until the next RedX review, which I'm looking to go back into Robots in Disguise, or maybe even Transformers Universe, who knows. 1.0? Anyone? Let's find out. So, that's me, RedX, signing out, and I will see you guys next time, so take care.